kind of hard to believe with Salinity, right? And then, I mean, looking at it growing. I mean, it's pretty impressive. You can see, if you look over the dark area, I would have to say it's likely, you know, a good 50, 60 feet around this slough area. So it's a good couple acres. I imagine, you know, 3, 4 acres. The easiest way to explain it is that it's a water issue. What happens is you have a higher water table here, because actually it's in a low spot and we have a slough there. But 2, 3, 4 feet down, we have a clay layer. And that clay has been sitting in water for a long period of time. And it's waterlogged, and the clay swells. And so what now we have is an impermeable layer, not letting that water get back down, unlike the other field where the water can go up and down. So the water's almost trapped in that 2 or 3 or 4 feet. And then what happens from evaporation, the water is pulled upwards, just like a wick in one of those old lamps. And as it evaporates, the salt is left behind. Well, that's kind of it in a nutshell. That's the easiest way to describe it. And then also what happens is the surrounding field is usually a little bit higher. And then because of the makeup of the field, we usually have a higher clay, and we also have usually a higher calcium and a higher magnesium. What that does, it just makes the ground really tight. And you can think of calcium, magnesium in the atoms or ions as the calcium is a little bit bigger than the magnesium. So if you think about, say, an aquarium, think of the calcium as tennis balls, so they're a little bit bigger, and think of magnesium as golf balls. So as the water goes up and down that clay layer, it just seals it right off. And then gravity cannot take that water back down. And then the rest of the field, because of that same makeup, is usually compacted. That's why I always say, yes, salinity is a water problem, but it's actually a whole field problem, and we need to correct the whole field because we don't want, when we get these really heavy downpours, that water to move from the soil into this low spot and to make it worse. It's a two-pronged approach. The water is the main issue, and then the compaction, the rest of the field, is the secondary problem. Picture your field as a bathtub, and your saline area is the plug. If we go in and we just fix the saline area, it's like pulling the plug out of the bathtub, and then all the water will drain there. And that's what we can't have that. We need the whole field to absorb that water so that we don't have any movements. And we can tell this because if we dig here, and we will in a bit, the soil actually is a lot better. And if we go to that black dirt where it's been tilled, it's very wet. It is still soaking very wet, and it's gummy and gooey. And if you remember when I said it's like a wick, so the evaporation is pulling up the water and leaving it behind. We tend to want to work the field like this, but when we do work the field in these saline areas, we're increasing evaporation. And then also we're getting more water and salts coming up to the top. So I know we like to work it, but if we can't, leaving it alone is best. Remember, I said earlier, about 2 or 3 or 4 feet down, we have an impermeable layer. So because the water has 2 hydrogen atoms and an oxygen, so we have 2 positives and a negative. So what actually is happening in the soil is that gravity cannot pull that. It's actually a soil solution back down, because what's happening is the positive hydrogen atoms are attaching to anything negative. So your soil is a negative, so your hydrogen is being that double positive, is having a hold on that clay colline, and it's sticking there, it's bound to that clay. So what we need to do is we need to break that so that the water can pass through that impermeable layer. Unfortunately, evaporation has a stronger pull, and that's why we can always pull water up through that waterlogged portion of the soil. We will apply it until we start getting growth back. So in this field, he's obviously, the crop is looking amazing, and down there's not. So in a field like this, as we gain and as we start pushing that water back down, not allowing it to rise back up, we're starting to get the crop here. We'll have roots. We'll have more biology entering in here. This, I would suggest he could go down to maybe a half a liter, and then move down to maybe just using the Crop Aid Plus, which is the biostimulant, then on out. And then if he starts seeing maybe the saline areas come back, then he may have to go back to the SS product. What the SS does, it changes how the water, actually the soil solution, behaves in the soil. The hydrogen atoms being positive, they are attracted to the negative soil. So what the SS does, it alters that soil, that water structure, and it breaks the surface tension of the water. So now we have a less of a bond between those positive hydrogen atoms and the clay, and we're able to drain that water, that salt back down. And if we go back 50 years ago in textbooks, or 40 years ago, it states right in there that the only way we can get rid of salinity is by leaching the salts out. So in irrigation, we can add in lots of water, and it's usually a lighter soil, and we can leach those salts down. But as we get into heavier land, we can't do it. So now, as we see over there with the SS product, we're allowing that salt to be leached downwards out of the root zone and allowing the crop to grow. The SS is a very new product. There's nothing out there like this. You just spray it on in the fall, lots of water, it's economical, it's easy to use, and you just spray it on. And with the Crop Aid SS, we are only treating the saline area. So for the cost of the SS, it's very, very economical to treat this and get this back. Normally, in a saline area, the soil should be wet, and it should be sticky, and it should be gooey, and that's a normal saline area. So in here, the shovel goes in fairly good, and we're going to dig this up here. I'm going to look at this dirt. Now, it's not gooey, and it's not sticky. Now remember, we have a high calcium, high magnesium, high clay soil. And look at it, it just crumbles away. We do have a little bit of compaction, but it just crumbles away. There's no moisture whatsoever holding in that soil. It's all being leached away, and those salts are being pushed down. And that's why we have a beautiful crop here. There's no salt stress. And if you notice, there's no kochia. Kochia loves a saline area. We've got rid of the kochia, and that soil is now back to a nice, it's moist, that's the way it should be. It's holding on to the proper amount of soil solution, and it's dry, and that crop is thriving in it. We're getting good roots. Around the roots, that black area is the rhizosphere. That's all biology. We have lots of biology. And now we've reclaimed the saline soil into a productive crop. It's lauryl sulfate. And what that lauryl sulfate does, it is a chemical. It's a safe chemical. And the Crop Aid SS is a CFIA registered product. So it's almost like a surfactant. And it goes in there, and what it does in different ways, it just breaks the surface tension by lowering that positive negative charge against the water and the clay. This is just the easy way to learn kind of what the SS does. And I tell everybody, look up lauryl sulfate. It's on the label. You can look that up and you can see what it does, and you'll see how it all kind of plays out, and it makes sense. I know a lot of guys try to come into a saline area and treat it as a compaction issue. And that's kind of, I think, why we failed for so many years, because it's actually a water problem. And until we fix that water problem, we'll never fix the saline. We'll go dig over there and we'll show you how wet it is. So as you can see, that's dark, it's wet, it's cold. This is dry, and that's how wet it is in here. Because the water is holding in the soil. It's not being, that surface tension is not being broke and allowing that soil solution that's full of salt to be leached out of the roots. What the farmer would have done is would have just broken that up, tilled it to get rid of the weeds. Unfortunately, kochia can grow in a high salt area. What it does is it has storage cells within it, and it can take that salt that's in the soil and it can store it in those cells, so the salt is actually kept away from the more sensitive cells, the growing cells in the plant itself. Plus, it can handle high tolerances of salinity, so it thrives. But once we start getting rid of the salt, we can start controlling the kochia. Today, the producer needs every acre to be productive. Will this yield and net profit as much as that? Maybe not, but it's still going to be productive. You're still going to get a net profit off this. And the biggest thing too is we started seeing these saline areas getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then that's less crop. So we need to manage these saline areas so it starts making the farmer, the producer, money. And the cost of the SS is not much. And there's a few management tools. I mean, we like to cut the fertilizer off or reduce it. That could, just a few things we need to do to get this going. But I mean, we can do this in the tractor. It's very easy. And at the end of the day, like I said, if we can get this growing like this is actually putting money in the farmer's pocket, and that's what we need to do. I've been in this industry many years, 20 some years, and I don't know if salinity has been addressed in this way. I mean, it's low cost. We've had this R&D on thousands of acres. Every single farmer has come back with positive. It works. It's growing. The soil's coming back. We've had one gentleman, he said he recovered over 600 acres and is growing great. And I just don't think there is a product on the market today like this. And I really do feel that the phrase game changer is used a lot. And I really do think that crop aid is actually a true game changer because we're taking non-productive soil because of salinity and we're changing it so we can grow. And I think that is a true definition of